much for coming. This is fantastic. I was talking to someone about emotional intelligence the other day, and I was saying, it's a topic that's really near and dear to my heart because I feel like at its core as a leader, it's probably one of the most important superpowers a leader needs to have, a leader needs to be like mindful of, working on. But I'll be like the first to admit, like once I started learning about it, I sort of put it on the back burner. And then every once in a while, someone will pop up and be like, hey, I want to know more about emotional intelligence. And then I'm drawn to it again. But so it was nice to revisit this topic. Because as I said, I really do think it's that heart of leadership, of understanding ourselves and our emotions and being able to read the room and see the emotions in other people. Because the group's so small, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. I hope you don't mind. I'm curious from you, like what prompted you to sign up today? What gets you curious about emotional intelligence, or what sort of thoughts and observations have you had in your own work experience? And Jasmine, I'm going to put you on the spot and get you to go first.
Well, EQ's always been an interesting topic for me. I think my background is in marketing. So being able to see, read people, know their, understand their motivations, that's always super important. I think experience with previous leaders who may not have had great EQ has also made my interest that much more relevant, I think.
Yeah. One of the exercises I sometimes do in EQ is like good boss, bad boss. And quite often, we can really learn a lot or draw a lot from those experiences that we've had. So good call on that. Jenny, how about you?
It was over the weekend, I think, that I read your very nice and well-written email about the soccer
Louis
incident.
Rubiales, yes.
Yeah, I'm a big soccer fan, and I couldn't follow as closely as I wanted what was going on with him, but it more than what happened. It was the way he managed things that were definitely so wrong. I couldn't believe that it was I even saw the video when he addressed the audience, and I said, oh my God, this is so wrong. Everybody can make mistakes, and I'm not justifying him, but I know that, especially having I'm Peruvian, and I have many clients from Spain, I know that it's possible. It runs in the blood of Spanish, Spanish people, but that everybody can make mistakes. But then what you say is that PR person was so off.
Yeah.
And anyway, that catch my attention a lot, the way that you explain it. I couldn't agree more with you. And also I have recognized for many years now that even though I can be called a leader because I ran my business for almost 15 years, the emotional intelligence is a big one for me because I'm wired as a Latina. And, many of you have seen Shakira reaction, right? So that is in my blood.
Yeah.
And that is in my blood. But I recognize that I need to work on this more than everybody. But it's very hard because what I have so far a business that is doing well because for whatever reason, clients trust me and they open to me, which has to do with something of some part of that, right? The personality, that genuineness, blah, 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 I guess, right? But that actually works the other way when you're a leader, right? It's something that helps one purpose, but it doesn't really help the other one. And Silvana has been working with me for 8 years or more. So I don't know how she is still here.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because there are parts of us that make us so unique and amazing and different and attract others to us. but it can be like a double-edged sword. And how you respond with passion under pressure is like, you know, it has a time and a place. And actually, we're going to talk about that down the road a little bit. But one thing I really want to point out that was made really clear to me right out of the gate with emotional intelligence and really anything is that our brains have a neuroplasticity to them, that just like coding, we can recode our brains, we can rewire our brains. Like we don't want to get the fire out of you, Jenny. Like we want that passion to exist, but we can train our brains to adapt to these pressure situations in different ways. And really that's what we're going to talk about today. But recognizing sort of the where you go under pressure is like half the challenge. So great way to call that out. David, couple words on EQ. What do you think about it? What do you know about it? What are you looking to sort of take away? Oh, for some reason we can't hear you. I don't know if it's your headphones. No. Can't hear you. Try it again. While you're playing with that, I'm going to let in a client, Michael. We'll welcome him. This is his first webinar. Catherine, I'm going to put you on the spot while David is getting his microphone going. Michael, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know your audio is just joining. If you can hear me, turn on your video, turn on your audio. We want to see you. Well, actually, you can be on mute, but ideally, we'd love to see you. I'm going to put Catherine on the spot. Catherine, tell us about EQ and you. And you probably don't get my newsletter, but I wrote this big blog on Louis Rubiales and this situation in Spain. So I'll send it to you afterwards. I'll refer to it. That's what Jenny was talking about. But you tell us from your perspective, like, what do you know and believe about EQ?
Yeah, so first of all, I would love to get that. So many years ago, I actually took a leadership class on EQ. It was a long time ago, and it's something that sort of has lived with me through the years as I continue to grow as an individual, as a professional, as a leader. And it's funny, last week I was having a conversation with my director, who I believe does get your newsletters, and she forwarded this to me and said, "Hey, I can't make this, but I think you would really enjoy it." And the two of us have conversations all the time about how we can grow, how we can take emotional intelligence and not only grow as an individual, but help grow our teams.
Awesome.
And so she sent this to me, and I was like, oh, what perfect timing. I don't have anything booked at that time.
Perfect.
I really want to join this. So I'm really excited to hear more about what you have to say and what others have to put in as well. You know, we talked for a moment at the beginning. I'm with Optum, and we're being acquired. I was actually with Change Healthcare, so Optum has purchased us, and that means a lot of change, right? And so this is a particularly important topic right now as I grow, but as I work across the team as well, because there's a lot of emotion involved with change and with especially this kind of change. And so it was just such perfect timing.
Well, yeah, fantastic. Who do you report to? Do you report to Quiva?
So right now it's Jennifer. Why can't I think of her last name?
That's okay.
Fontansky. There we go. Jennifer
Okay.
Fontansky. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I did some work in the summer with Optum here in Vancouver. And so I think maybe it's through all of that you've found your way here. So welcome. Am I detecting a bit of an American accent?
Yes, I live in the Dallas area.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Well, welcome to Vancouver, BC. It's where most of us are sitting here from. David we can't hear David. I'm going to put him, I won't put him on the stop. I think he's in Manitoba. Yes, thumbs up. I remember correctly. Awesome. Heartland, welcome. If you're not eating your lunch, you know, I want to see your face. Catherine, a lot of the people, actually all the people except for Silvana on the call today, I have like previous familiarity with. And when the group is this small, I do like making a little bit of a less formal webinar and have it be a little bit more informal. Mike, welcome. It's your first webinar with me. This is fantastic. So glad to see you.
Nice to see you too. This is very exciting.
It's very exciting. And emotional intelligence, hot topic, hey?
Oh, very hot topic. So.
What do you feel like you want to might maybe share? Like what brought you here today other than me like dragging you?
Working in a family business is definitely pushing my need to learn more about emotional intelligence, and yeah, being a new leader in our division here in our service group. So yeah,
fantastic.
Excited to see what this is all about.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Harlan, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Savannah, I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to keep us going here. Like I said, when the group's small like this, I like to think of it as sort of like a group coaching session. And I will put people who I know really well and that are comfortable on the spot, like a Jasmine or a Jenny, but you don't have to worry about me putting you on the spot, Savannah or Catherine. I actually feel like I could probably put you on the spot. Totally. So, but really what I want you to think about today is like, this is just like, first of all, give yourselves a pat on the back for honoring your own professional development and creating this space in your lives to like better your best, because bettering our best every day is only going to help us attract the success that we want to attract. But really, the work is up to you. And that my objective in any of these webinars that I do is that for you to walk away with 1 or 2 nuggets, or maybe it's just this reminder like, hey, you know what? The power of the pause before I react in a situation. That's the nugget that I want to remember. So your work in throughout the course of this time together is to just listen, to pay attention and reflect. So I'm just going to share my screen here. A couple of webinar agreements that I always ask. And give me a thumbs up if you're looking at my emotional intelligence screen. Does it say, am I sharing the right screen? Yes, thank you, Catherine. So a couple reminders. One, ultimately, we want to have screens on. I think Heartland knows that. I bet he's probably just eating his lunch because I know him so well. Ideally, hi. You know, you can have your microphone on mute unless I call on you. Have a pen and a paper close by. Like we're going on a bit of a guided journey. We're going to do some self-reflection. And the best way to do that is through writing down some of your thoughts and observations. The webinar is recorded. It will go on my YouTube channel. I will tell you my viewership is pretty low. I do like to just have it as a resource if it comes up in any of the companies that I talk to. And also when we are in presentation mode like this, they can't see you, they just see the slides. If you have any questions, I'll stick around at the end and I can hang out and we can chat. But also know, like, I just love this work and you have access to me anytime you want. Just drop me an email if you got to run today, but you have questions, you can you know, always reach out. And know, like, on the hour, I know many of you are on your lunch break. On the hour, if you got to go, you got to go. Don't feel like you have to say a formal goodbye. Just go. Okay. So a couple agreements. So really what I want you to really think about is this is your time to reflect on you. I'm really not going to put you too much on the spot right out of the gate. So just know that. Nothing to be afraid of. We're going to skip this. We've sort of already talked about that. So high level, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is how we respond under pressure. It's our ability to sort of see how we're feeling, understand how we're feeling, name our feelings, while also simultaneously like looking at the landscape and the ecosystem around you. And sometimes it's more like it's way more obvious that we need to be doing this than others. When we're in a heated boardroom discussion, like that is an ecosystem where there's a lot of emotions on the table. So we are doing this duality. It's like a golf game. We're like watching the long game, which is like what's happening in the boardroom, while also watching our short game, like, hey, how am I responding to this? What am I feeling within ourselves? And the ability to do this like in split seconds, it's not always easy. Emotional intelligence is really made up of 5 key components: self-awareness, so that ability to sort of be like, hey, I'm having a feeling. Self-regulation, oh, can I name that feeling? And what can I do about that feeling? Can I do something about that feeling? Motivation, am I motivated to, learn, grow, respond differently? Do I have motivation? Social awareness, so what is happening in the room around me? Like what are the feelings of other people? Can I empathize with someone that's having a tough time? Can I show some compassion? And then yes, social regulation is just like, okay, how can I positively impact this ecosystem? As was brought up already, the reason why I sort of called out this topic this fall is because it feels like every week there's like a fire burning in an organization or a sports world. And like the Louis Rubiales story really hit home for me. And if you don't know who Louis Rubiales is, put up your hand if you don't know who he is. Like, be dead honest. Okay, Catherine. Michael, perfect. Okay. So Louis Rubiales is the president of the Spanish Football Federation. And what you might not know is the Spanish women's team won the World Cup this summer. And when they won at the celebration party, Louis behaved atrociously, like not just poorly, but atrociously. And I won't go deep into all of the things that he did. You can Google it, you can read the news. And what really upset me and really upset a lot of women athletes is that he completely hijacked this win with his poor behavior. And while his behavior goes deep, I connected it to emotional intelligence in my blog. It goes way deeper than lower emotional intelligence. It goes to culture. It goes to toxicity. It goes to all of these major topics that can feel like very unsurmountable in the sense of like, how are we going to change Spanish culture so that men are less misogynistic? Like, that's a pretty bold statement. But really it's connected to some of that. And where I go is always to this place of, well, what can I do about it? And what can I do about it is to grow in my willingness to be curious, to want to be better, to be the best version of myself. And that if I can be healthy, happy, and whole, then I can positively influence the landscape around me. And so that is my invitation to everybody, is that we, through this, develop ourselves, develop something like emotional intelligence so that we can change these toxic cultures. And I mean, that Louis story is a huge extreme, but it also happens in the boardroom. It also happens at micro levels. It also happens in micro sort of interactions. And so while that's an extreme situation, it is happening, and it's happening in places where we just need to be aware. And my call to you and to everyone is, if we're going to change it, we have to change ourselves. So, well, I know none of you have had a Louis Rubiales story. I know all of us, myself included, have been triggered. We've been in a situation where all of a sudden our calm, rational brain has been hijacked, and our amygdala is just like our animal primal brain is just going crazy. So what I want you to do now, your first reflective question, is just spend a couple minutes thinking about that time where you responded to something that you might not be super proud of. And I'm not going to ask you about it, but it's to take you to that place. Jenny said, I can get passionate. Like, go to that place for a second and write a couple words about it, because I want you to go there. I need you to frame up this webinar by going there. So just take a couple minutes. I'm going to be quiet. Write down that time where you got zinged or triggered. Where were you? What happened? How did you react? Just capture it. Okay, give me a thumbs up when you got it. Thumbs up, great. Mike, you got it? Good, okay. So you got your situation. So like, why now? Like, why now? I told you earlier, I was like, I feel like every week I'm reading a story about the toxic culture at a company called Aritzia. Catherine, it's a very popular Canadian brand. It's in the US and it's based in Vancouver. And I know lots of people that have worked for them. And just even walking into the store, like you just feel lesser than, like you just don't feel like you should be there, that you're not worthy of shopping there. And we're just hearing more and more of these stories. And so the reason is, why are we hearing more of these stories? And I believe it's because organizations are demanding more from employees than they ever have. We are always constantly switched on with our devices. Technology, you know, what might have taken us a couple of weeks in the past to get something done, technology has solved far. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I did use ChatGPT to like make sure I was on the right track with my webinar today. And it was like, boom, the ideas that it gave me, I was like, yes, amazing. So technology is allowing us to advance. We have leaders that are like just being pulled in so many different directions with competing priorities and, you know, shiny objects and opportunities. And it just really creates these very dynamically, constantly changing environments. And we have new groups of people coming together, working in new and different ways. We have competing cultures. We have people from different cultures coming together. We have different genders coming together. We have just different generations coming together. And I really think like it's just creating this sort of perfect storm, which can then lend to some bad behavior, because it's like, well, my way of doing it is the right way. And then that my way of is the right way of doing that. And we're just seeing conflict everywhere. So why do we need emotional intelligence? To navigate all of this change, navigate this diversity, navigate this quick speed in this output. Why does it matter? Is because with it, we can develop that ability to empathize with one another. We can slow down to sort of like pay attention to like, hey, what might be important to that person? We can collaborate more effectively. We like, I'm running a course right now, David's a part of it, called Leading Self. And some of the feedback that we're getting right out of the gate over the course is like, we have patience for each other. Like before, we used to just be, you know, running and gunning and trying to do the things our own way. But now we're recognizing that actually, like, there's a lot of different ways we can go about doing things. So having that patience and slowing down to really understand what's important to each other allows us to work more effectively together. We talk about leadership, good boss versus bad boss, and that ability to influence. Like, I think a really great leader is that leader that can inspire a vision and like get us excited to get behind them and follow. And you do that only through like groundedness and knowingness and an ability to sort of bring out the best in each other. Traditionally, EQ has traditionally leadership has really focused on your experience, your core competencies, where you came from. Whereas now leadership is inviting us to think more about things like values, things like purpose, things like emotional intelligence. And these are the things that sort of happen below the water that we're not always aware of until we start paying attention. But they truly influence how we show up with our people. They truly influence how we enroll others into our vision for the business, for companies. So old school, we just focus on experience, competencies, behavior. New school, we have to focus on that, plus all the underlying influences under the water. And that together makes an effective leader, a whole iceberg, if you will. So we've already talked about this quickly, the components of emotional intelligence. I'm not going to dissect this, actually. Like, I'm not going to go deep into what is EQ. If you're curious about EQ, reach out. We can do an assessment. You can sign up for my Leading Self course in September. what I really want to walk away, what I want you to walk away with today is more those key considerations to how to optimize your emotional intelligence. It's sort of like the end game. So if you are curious about how you rate, let me know. We can do an assessment, but that's not the objective for today. The objective of today is for you to reflect on yourself and consider where might be some places that you could grow in order to develop your emotional intelligence. So we talked, I had you write down just now, I had you write down a moment where you might not have reacted the best way that you possibly could, or in a way that you are proud of. Now, my question for you, and Jenny did a really great job of illustrating this in the beginning, is like, when you have this reaction, are you someone who, like, what happens to you when this happens? Like when you feel the pressure, when you get zinged, or you, yeah, what happens? Are you someone who amps up, so gets angry? Are you someone who clams up, like is like a deer in headlights and you'll just shut down and you won't speak? Or are you someone who will flare up? What did I say? Amp up, clam up, and I just, for 1 second here, the third is blow up, actually. So blow up, amp up is like get dramatic. That's what I do. Like I get, like I call it flappy. And then the other one is clam up. So consider for a second, where do you go? What do you do? What's your response? What's interesting about how you respond is that commonly it is very connected to your natural behavioral style. So Jasmine, Norris, Grace, Heartland, David, you would know through our DISC assessments that we all have a natural behavioral style. And interestingly enough, different behavioral profiles, more extroverted, probably have that tendency to amp up or blow up, and more introverted have that tendency to clam up. Although if you get a high C, I'm sort of going down a different path here, a high C can blow up as well, which is interestingly enough. Norris is sort of giving a giggle there. Do you agree, Norris, that a high C can blow up? I know you're a high C, that's why I'm calling you on it. Have you had a tendency to like blow up, like once you get pushed hard enough?
No, I think it depends on situation. Depends on what type of conflict, if you would say, the situation. There's certain things that I can kind of let it go a little bit more easily and just forget about it. There are certain things that, you know, really tipping the line, then yeah, I mean, it really depends. But chances are, yeah, less likely to blow up. But if it get extreme, it does happen.
A high C in an extreme, like it takes a lot, and then poof. So knowing what your natural tendency is probably one of the most important first steps of self-awareness, of measuring your emotional intelligence under pressure. And so the question is, how self-aware are you? Do you slow down to think about your impact? How in tune are you with your words and emotions? Are you someone who can name your emotions? Are you someone who can like pause and fly up 10,000 feet and look at yourself in a situation and say, okay, how am I showing up right now? Or even having the self-awareness before you go into a tricky situation to say to yourself, how do I manage myself in this uncomfortable situation? So starting from this place of slowing down to consider how you show up, both in good times and bad times. Like Louis was celebrating. It wasn't a conflict situation, but his amygdala got hijacked because of the celebration. And anyway, we won't keep hammering on him, but like you can get triggered both positively and negatively. And so slowing down to always sort of consider how am I showing up is pretty critical. So just take a moment, like you're not going to give anybody the answer. Like, how self-aware are you? And how do you know if you're self-aware? How do you know? Like, just capture that for yourself right now. I'm not going to ask you to share. how would you rate your self-awareness? What emotions, what are ways that you've seen your emotions affect others? Are you aware of that? Can you laugh at yourself when someone gives you a joke? Can you laugh at yourself? Are you aware of when you're in a mood? Can you get yourself out of a mood? Just give yourself a little bit of a self-rating there. So my next question for you, and you're going to put this in the chat. I like to do what I call a chat storm. So don't press enter until I tell you. Like, how many emotions can you name? So don't give me the number. Just like in the chat storm, brainstorm with me as many emotions that you possibly can. And don't hit enter yet. So just get into your chat and start typing. How many emotions can you name? What are like the most common emotions? Okay, when you're ready, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then you hit enter, and then we'll take a minute to read it. So 3, 2, 1, hit enter. And now open up your chat. Open up the chat and let's see. Great, great. All right, you guys, what are we sort of like high level? What are we noticing? What are we noticing about how many emotions people can name? David, David, can I hear you or not?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. What are you noticing about what everybody's written?
I mean, there's a range, but I feel like there's more negative ones than positive ones in there.
Okay. More negative than positive. Jasmine, what are you noticing?
I'd agree. That's the first thing I noticed too. It seems to skew more negative than positive.
Yeah. What do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess people tend to focus on the negative more than the positive. Like in your
Maybe.
head, right? Like you fixate more, I think, or people tend to fixate more when it's a more negative emotion.
Do you think that we're all like a little bit tired and burnt out right now?
Could be.
Is this a temperature check reflection of the people in this group?
I think for sure. I
Who
feel,
said for sure, Jenny?
oh, I think I mean with the exposure I have to people as well in my business on an hourly basis, I think we all feel what has happened in the past few years has triggered less patience, more anxiety, more uncertainty, awareness of the uncertainty, soul searching, many feelings through people. And I mean, it includes myself, right? It includes my team, includes my clients, every relationship, I think. So
Yeah.
it's
interesting. I think I'm just calling it out because it's that I wasn't expecting that answer, but it is apparent a little bit. I will tell you that the average human being can only name 3 emotions: happy, angry, and sad. And so what does that tell us about the emotional intelligence of the people walking around us? It's not that deep. I'm either happy, I'm either angry, or I'm either sad. But the reality is there's like thousands of emotions. There's thousands. I read somewhere even 42,000. I don't know if I agree with that, but there's more than just 3 to 5. What's interesting is this group's propensity to talk more about some of the negative ones, but the top sort of 7 emotions are fear, angry, disgust, happy, sad, and contempt. I think I copied that one twice, but I just grabbed this wheel from Calm, that free app, but you can see, like, I know I couldn't make the words big enough, but you can see there's probably at least 100 feelings on here. And so knowing how to regulate yourself comes with knowing how to name the emotion that you're feeling. And my challenge for you is to be able to name it beyond just happy, mad, or sad. Okay? Because the first step in regulating ourselves when we get zinged or when we have a trigger situation is like recognizing that we are having a feeling. Yes, my body is having a feeling. My hands are sweating, my heartbeat's pumping, I'm sweating, like who knows, my stomach feels sick. So recognizing that. But then B, naming the emotion. I would really encourage you guys to go online and like find an emotion wheel that really speaks to you. If you're a parent, like I've seen lots of parents go and print off the emotion wheel, they do it in classrooms, put it up on the classroom, and start really encouraging the people around you to name the emotion that they're feeling beyond just happy, mad, and sad. And as you're navigating life right now and maybe feeling a little bit stressed and maybe feeling burnt out, train your brain. This is so important, that neuroplasticity. Train your brain to see and amplify the good times. When you're out on the walk, when you see a sunrise, when you see a sunset, like really, it feels like our brains are a little bit wired for stress right now, and anger and just like frustration. Let's rewire these brains to see the good, to see the positive, to see the joy. You know how many executives have come to me and been like, I need help in coaching. I need to find the joy in my life. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is going to be, it's not an easy one because it's really retraining that brain to see the good as easily as we see the bad. But start with recognizing your ability to name your feelings, and then maybe take it one more step. Go download your own emotions wheel and start seeing how many different emotions you might be able to feel as you navigate your life. So first was self-aware, second was self-regulate, third is now taking that lens and looking outward and saying, what is my ability to read the room? I just love that expression. Can you read the room? When you're in a boardroom, can you see what is going on? And again, going back to those behavioral attributes, some of us are a little bit more naturally inclined to be able to pick up the energy in a boardroom over others. If you are a fast-moving, direct individual that likes to get things done, I would argue you're probably not that socially aware. You're just a bull in a china shop trying to make things happen. But if that's your natural behavioral style, and you know that wanting to work on your social sort of emotional intelligence, your social intelligence, you can train your brain. You can make that change. They can change. People can change if they want to. So what's your ability to read the room? Maybe you have a superpower to read the room. I might argue, Jasmine, no, maybe you don't. And you're a D, aren't you? Jasmine, how would you rate your ability to read the room?
I think it's pretty good, but I have to consciously do it because
Yes.
sometimes I don't care to, if I'm being honest, but when I need to, I can, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would say that's something that you've probably, I'm putting words in your mouth, but like you've had to learn to do.
I think so. I think, yeah, like it is, like I said, it's me, having worked with like sales and marketing people most of my career, like they need to be pretty good at that. And so you do pick up here and there, what other people are doing, like how they are responding to people and kind of getting cues that way, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, good. You're sort of like trained within you to pick up those nuances in your audience. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So give yourself a little bit of a rating here. How good of a job would you say you do at reading the room? And there's probably, maybe there's some populations that you do a better job of it than others. You know, Jasmine, in a room full of like, I don't know, like coders or like technology guys or gals, people, you know, it might not be as easy to read them.
No, not at all. And I think like it definitely depends on the people. I think like you said, I've had to learn how to be better around software engineers, because otherwise then I can't get things done. So I think over time I've learned to understand them better, but that has come over time. It was nothing immediate.
Awesome. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot like that. So this is your reflection. How socially aware of you, like, can you do a good job? Personally, I would argue this is a place where I need to pay much closer attention to. I can definitely run into rooms and situations and just be so excited about the work that we're doing and so excited about, you know, whatever topic I'm presenting, and learn that like maybe the energy in the room isn't matching me. Specifically, you know, I've designed webinars for groups of engineers and quickly learned like I wasn't applying my own messaging, which is like know your audience. So me really learning how to adapt my sort of behavioral style to the energy in the room, to the types of people in the room, again, is a place that I would just say that's where I need to pay attention to. I need to just slow down a little bit every once in a while with these different populations to make sure that we're connecting in a way that's meaningful. So key considerations for performing under pressure. You're going to see a bunch of words here. I'm going to show you just a bunch of words, but what I need you to pay attention to is what I'm going to share with you. I couldn't fit it all on the screen. So as I'm talking, I want you to write some notes. I want you to write the things that are meaningful to you, the comments that are meaningful to you, because I'm going to give you a series of tips and considerations. So we know that emotional intelligence is important for all the reasons that we've talked about. Working with different people, compete like fast-moving environments. We know what goes into emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, social awareness, social regulation. So we know all those components, but now how do I get better? Just give me the Coles notes, Carolyn. Like, how do I be better at that? Well, we've already talked about self-awareness, but what I really want to hit home is taking time to regularly reflect on your emotions. Find that time to think about, to analyze, to go back and read your tape from your day to say, how well did I show up? Keep a journal on it. If you're journaling every day and you're noticing that like the nature of your journaling is quite negative, like that's something to pay attention to. How do we switch the negative to the positive? Be open to feedback. If you've got some really great peers and colleagues, ask them, what's the impact? What are you noticing? How am I showing up? How am I influencing the ecosystem? Really be aware and open to asking for that feedback from your peers. The self-regulation piece, like, I don't know about you guys, but that's something that I've really, as a very like energetic ideas person, I've had to really work on that. So impulse control. So I get this like really big idea and I want to fire off a rocket of an email and be like, we're going to do this thing. I've learned to just like bake my ideas over a few days. I've learned when I get an email that really triggers me, I don't respond back. I give myself 24 hours. So what are the things that you need to adapt and include in order to manage that sort of impulsive, like wanting to react? Stress management. If you guys are overstressed, like dial it back. Dial it back, you guys. Start finding places to say no. Like, seriously, I know you're going to tell me you can't say no, but I'm going to tell you got to say no or you're going to kill yourselves. Dial it back. Say no. Manage your stress. Get your rest, get your exercise, drink your water. Empathy. When we can empathize with others, when we can put the shoes on of the other people that we're connecting with through active listening and through like just really being like, hey, like, what is I like to use this expression, what is the cattle prod? What is that thing that is influencing this person's behavior right now? Because their way that they're showing up is like illogical. So stop for a second and say, like, what's influencing this behavior? Why is this leader acting like this? Oh, because the shareholders are putting pressure on them. Oh, because they're afraid that like we're going to have to lay off a bunch of people as we navigate this change. So empathy through listening, empathy through perspective taking. What is the cattle prod? So like, you know what I mean when I say cattle prod? What is influencing this weird behavior in this person? Social skills, work on your communication. You know, communication happens on the terms of the listener. If you're an extrovert and you're talking to an introvert, they're going to want to be listening for different things. Some people are more relational, some people are more data. Like, know that, work on your communication. Conflict resolution. If there's a lot of conflict in your organization, learn skills and ways to navigate that, facilitate what I call courageous conversations. Conflict doesn't have to be a bad thing, actually. When we can have like a safe space and shared values, conflict can actually be quite productive. It can be like, learn to embrace it. It doesn't have to be toxic. Next, recognize and manage biases. This is huge for me, you guys. This is huge for me. You know, nature versus nurture, our behavioral profiles, like we've been brought up in whatever environment or ecosystem that we've been brought up in, those are the lenses through which we are looking at these situations. Our own fears and insecurities, they really are like the gas on a fire on a triggered situation. Our own fears and insecurities. So know what your biases are, know what your fears are, and manage them accordingly. Do your best to be able to pull yourself away from that situation and be like, I'm getting all fired up because I like to please people, and this person isn't happy with the way I'm pleasing. Like, really pay attention to how your own fears and biases can influence the situation, and do your best to just like park it, see the situation for what it is. Practice compassion. That seems easy, but not always. Develop emotional resilience. So emotional resilience goes hand in hand with a concept that I like to call a growth mindset. We have been so wired to win or lose, pass or fail, good or bad, that like it's like so binary. But the reality is, like, our brains evolve, and that every setback, every sort of like hurdle that you have had to overcome in your life, the learnings that you have drawn from that have positively contributed to where you are today. 100%. We don't learn through always like winning and doing well. We learn through the tough times. So not judging something as good or bad, but judging something as an opportunity to learn and grow helps us develop the emotional resilience that we need to navigate these complex situations. Build relationships. Like, I don't know, I remember one of the first things when I got pregnant, one of the hardest things for me to do was ask for help. Like being on an airplane and like having to get my bag down, I had to like ask a stranger to like do that for me. And I remember like how hard that was. I'm like this independent person. I can do whatever I need. I don't need help from anybody. You know what? We all need people in our lives to help us. We all need to be able to help and give help. Sorry, ask for help and give help. So build the relationships with the people around you that complement you. And let's help each other out and not be afraid to ask for help. Seek feedback. We've already talked about that. You know, seek feedback from people that are a bit different than you. I mean, our friends are going to give us all the things that we want to hear, but like ask someone who operates a bit different. Continuous learning. Like, this is a core value at Better Your Best through and through. Like, read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, have all the mentor conversations that you can have on any of the topics that are speaking to you right now. Self-care connected to self-regulation. You can't self-regulate if you are stressed, if you are burnt out, if you are any of the things. So honestly, like, I know you've all heard it before, but like journaling, meditating. I'm really into cold water plunging right now. I think I'm going to buy, I don't know if you guys have seen these like cold water like jackets that you can get that are basically like a tent. Anyway, cold plunging really into that right now, but you do you figure out what you need to practice your self-care, but find something that is that little piece that feeds you. And then last but not least, like, practice patience. Have a bit of compassion for yourself. Like, if you find yourself like in a situation where you don't respond properly and you're a bit embarrassed, like, go easy on yourself. Go easy on yourself, but B, also just, I don't know. Yeah, like, don't let it derail you. Like, really go back to this emotional resilience and saying, like, what can I learn from this? How can this situation help me be better? I'll tell you guys, like, a couple weeks ago, I was parking the car. It was in the summer. I picked my kids up from camp. We were all a hot mess. And this car had parked so badly on my street. There's not enough parking stalls. And I parallel parked, and I turned around, and this guy popped up. He was sleeping in his car. And he's like, you just hit my car. And then I started screaming, I didn't hit your car. And he's like, get out of the car and look. I'm like, I'm not getting out of the car and looking. I know I didn't hit your car. And I just behaved so badly, so badly. But I also did be like, okay, just chill, Carolyn, just catch your breath here. And I had a laugh because I'm like, this is the stuff I talk about all the time, and I fail miserably. So, I'll try and be better next time. I'll try not to like lose my cool like I did. But all we can do is learn and grow from it. But we need to have that willingness to learn and grow. So that sort of brings me to the end. I know I've been doing so much talking. Really, what I want to ask you guys to do right now is, through everything that I've just said, what popped for you? Were you like, boom, that's the thing that I need to pay attention to? So write that down, capture right now, of all of the long dialogue that Carolyn just said, what was like really popping for me? Sleep more. Awesome, Silvana. You just feel like you're ahead of the game there. You just answered the question before I even asked. You don't need to pop it in the chat. If you do want to pop it in the chat, it can sometimes be helpful to other people, because they can see, oh yeah, that is like sleeping more, like getting to bed on time is important. So if you want to pop it in the chat, do so now. If you don't, you want to keep it to yourself, then go for it. I'll let you guys navigate that. So just a few quick things. If you want to know more about your emotional intelligence, we do have assessments. We can do debriefs, but you can also sort of just do it on yourself. Like, not totally, it's not going to be as comprehensive, but like, go through those 5 different components: self-regulation, self-awareness, motivation, and sort of check in on where you're at with it. Seek feedback from others, and just start with like 1 or 2 personal professional development goals, and that's just a really easy place. Or activate whatever commitment that you have just said, like Silvana saying getting to bed, like that could be your thing. Take a pause before reacting is what Harlene's going to work on. So it's great, like asking ourselves, what's triggering me? What's the root of this? What's my cattle prod right now? Love it. Want to build higher EQ in your cultures? We can do individual assessments, we can do debriefs, we can do more team training on this topic. The other thing that we can do is like assess emotional intelligence from a 360-degree view. So from your team's perspective. So Jenny, we could come in and bring your whole group together, the people that report to you, and we could sort of have this really great conversation around emotional intelligence and what we're sort of seeing within the ecosystem of your business. And then last but not least, we have our leadership development course, Leading Self, where we touch on this, where we touch on the components of this and how this can influence sort of the ecosystem of your organization. So we're having an information session coming up on that at in November. So feel free to join us for that. I think I am going to be doing another webinar in November on leadership development programs, like how to create and implement one in your organization, but stay tuned for that. But like I said at the beginning of the call, really just feel free to reach out to me for any reason. for any topic. If you're feeling burnt out, if you're seeing, you know, more negative than the positive, then we should chat. We got to like reframe that brain and get you finding your joy again. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope you got one little nugget out of this conversation. And yeah, I hope you will commit to it. I hope you will sort of really embrace this idea of growing in your emotional intelligence. So thank you.